Hello, and welcome to the Free Black Girl Podcast. This is a space for joyful healing, learning, and collective liberation. My name is Najma Ahmed, and you are listening to a series of mini podcast episodes called Lessons from Liberation. If you've been here before, I need you to go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and leave a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. I want the podcast to continue to reach more people, and that really helps. Also, share this podcast with someone you think needs to hear it. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I shared in my first season of the podcast all the ways in which I got free from unhealed trauma, people pleasing, and really from any person, place, or thing causing me to betray myself. But now these lessons from liberation are based on what I learned after asking myself, now what? Last week, I shared about centering ourselves in our own lives and in our dreams. And as we dream, asking ourselves, what could be greater than this? Well, now, this week, it may feel like I'm going in the opposite direction a little bit, but stick with me. I think it's all about balance. Once we are able to dream up the highest version of our lives, and in my own life, if I started to realize that I'm already living my dreams, I thought to ask myself, when is enough enough? Let's jump into this week's lesson. So I was scrolling online the other day and I saw TMZ interviewing Sherri Shepherd, the talk show host and comedian. Her daytime show had just been unexpectedly canceled, and they were asking her, what's next? I felt bad that she was even being asked that question. She had this forced smile and talked about taking meetings and all of her other projects, and the interviewer kept pushing, and they were like, so no breaks? You're not going to take any breaks, right? And Sherri was like, no, we just keep going. First of all, I want us to normalize not asking people when you have seen that they have put their heart and soul into something. Let's normalize not asking them what's next. It's extractive, and it implies that what they have done or what they're doing is not enough. But this change in her path, which she said was unexpected, she said that she had felt like she was just hitting her stride. So many of us have experienced that or are currently experiencing that. And often it's involuntary. And for many of us, there's this voice that says, keep going, do more. Not taking space to even sit with what just happened to us or what we've created, what we've experienced, celebrating what we've been through. I think about my own life. After I left my 9-to-5, I spent 3 years consulting. At a point, I had plans to grow my consulting firm into this huge enterprise where I'm bringing on multiple consultants and we're going after these big contracts in the education and workforce sectors. But one day, I was just standing there in a meeting with some clients and it just hit me. I was like, I'm tired and I don't want to do this. I never truly took a break after I left my 9-to-5. I tell people, I say this all the time, that it felt like I had escaped the plantation, but I was still sharecropping. And what I mean by that is that I was still navigating the same system and trying to survive. It felt like I had been doing so much for so long and giving all of this effort that the thought of doing more, I was just like, count me out. I can't do it. At the same time, I had been creating and doing content in my podcast for about a year at that point. And I had decided that I would just put all of my time and energy into my creativity. And at that time, and I've spoken about this before too, I thought that I'd be covered financially, but then stuff happened with the economy and clients' payments disappeared. So I was out here creating really without a safety net, but I still had my coaching, thank God. And so that was what was able to sustain me. But in this time of creating and growing, it was like, okay, I want it bigger. I want my podcast to grow. I want more people to find me. And this was early on, but I was like, I want more views on my content, more, bigger. Because I was tying my survival to my creativity. And that is a very quick way to burn out, a very quick way to not want to do that anymore either. Because I, number one, realized that the way that most people monetize content creating and podcasts is through brand deals and sponsorships and ads. And I learned that I have no desire to have a brand deal or to sell you all anything from any corporation. And no knock on anyone who does. It's just not what I want. And I wouldn't have known that until I got into this world and started to explore. I always wanted to create for the sake of creating and helping people to learn about and to see themselves and to free themselves and for our collective liberation. So as I'm in this space of dreaming, I ask myself, as my audience has grown, I hit my goal, doubled my audience in a year, when will enough be enough? What if I stayed at 5,000 followers for the rest of this year? Would that be okay? Would that be enough? Am I doing what I set out to do? The answer is yes, I am. Are my needs met today? Yes, they are. So when we think about abundance, it doesn't necessarily mean more. Abundance means enough. That you have enough, that you are enough, that there's enough for all of us to go around. So if I say that my goal is that I want to help people to feel seen, held, and supported through my work, whether it's one person or a million people, the abundance is in the fact that I get to do this at all, not the scale to which it is happening. Because if it's about scale, then I will constantly be striving for more. It will never feel like it's enough. But it's enough right now because what I've asked for is happening today. But I do want to note that, as Bell Hooks says, we live in and have been socialized in an imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchal society that is inherently extractive. Enough is never enough in this system. That's why our environment is depleted. That's why our economy is this way. That's why we have an expectation of instant gratification. That's why we feel like we need more, that there has to be something else that we need to keep that engine of capitalism running. You can't be satisfied. You can't feel like you have enough, not for the society to function in the way that it was designed, because who would ever buy anything? How do we keep people working and exhausted if they feel like they are enough and that they have enough? So I think it's important to name that as well, because as we dream up a new world, I suspect that it's going to have to be one that is smaller and slower, where we are content with what we have. I want you to journal these questions. Do we always have to be striving for bigger and better? Is doing and creating what we love at our current level enough? How will we ever know that we've won? And what are we trying to win? When you're experiencing new things, can you decide, oh, that was fun, or that I learned a lot and now I can go do something completely different without feeling like you quit? And this is not a call to complacency. I do think that there, though, is something in being content and not always having to be pushing a boulder up a mountain. Our need to constantly be striving for more is harming us. It is constantly telling our nervous system and our inner child that we are not yet enough. Also, in a spiritual sense, it tells spirit and the universe that we are not satisfied. So we continue to manifest more dissatisfaction. But when I realize I am already successful in what I've set out to do, that allows me to then detach from the outcome and just allow myself to experience life. To try things, to decide I don't want to do those things anymore and to go do something else, or to decide I do still want to do those things, but I'm going to do them in a different way and see what I can learn from that. We can exhale. And that's when the manifestation magic happens. When you know that what's meant for you will not miss you. You don't have to force anything. When you show the universe that you're not endlessly trying to extract from it. feeling some endless void, that's when the blessings in all forms can continue to flow, when you move that boulder you've been pushing out of the way. Once I stopped pushing and fixing and constantly striving, I could see what I already have. And I could understand that it's already enough. When I realize I'm enough and that I have enough to make anything I want happen by being in alignment with my creativity, my strategy, and my intuition. When I understand that there's no void I'm trying to fill or forcing myself to create to feed the machine for my survival, I've had new opportunities start pouring in. New clients, new creative projects, and other potential opportunities that I wasn't even considering before. Because all I could see through was my survival brain. And even still, I approach these potential opportunities with discernment. It's okay to want more. It's perfectly natural to want to experience different things. I guess what I'm saying is just be sure to ask yourself why. Why do you want more? What will it provide for you? Will it prove something to you about your worth and your value? How can you tell yourself you're worthy right now? That you're valuable right now? Because you are. And you are enough. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Leave me a comment and a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. I really hope these lessons from liberation help you to grow, as you being in community with me helps me to grow. And as always, I want this to be a conversation. Tell me, what does enough look like for you?